Now that Obama's socialized medicine may become a reality, there are examples of government-controlled care that gives us dire warnings of things to come to you. Joining us now is Dr. Grace Vuoto, whose recent article in Reflections magazine brings up an important and disturbing look at a problem in the VA. Grace Vuoto, welcome back to the Savage Nation.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, what do you think is going on there that will affect Obamacare?
Well, this actually is very important to the whole healthcare debate because it's a case study in what happens when the government takes over healthcare. This is really a blockbuster story. I think it's something that if the individual that I interviewed becomes triumphant, ultimately it'd probably be a movie made on this. Basically, this is a story about a neurologist by the name of Dr. Robert Van Boven, and he discovered major fraud and abuse of power and mismanagement at the Veterans Administration. He was hired to oversee a program that would do research into traumatic brain injury. Michael, as your listeners know, traumatic brain injury occurs. Many veterans suffer from this if they were close to a blast in either Iraq or Afghanistan. When they come home, they suffer from severe head pain, leading to great consequences in their personal lives, even to the point that some cannot bear the pain and commit suicide. Right now, the Army is, dealing with record high suicide rates. So this doctor, he was going to oversee a program that would do research to help our veterans who are in such pain. And the government had allocated $6 million for this research. He was thrilled that he was going to oversee the program, but no sooner did he begin than he recognized that a vast portion of that money had been completely squandered, mismanaged, wasted. He was horrified at what he discovered, and he began to sound the alarm bells. He went up the chain of command, talking to one person after the other, telling them there is some serious fraud going on here. And he was even more horrified when he discovered that his superiors were involved in a cover-up. They were all involved in covering up this huge mismanagement of public funds that were supposed to go to helping veterans.
Well, what happened when he sounded the alarm?
Once he started sounding it, essentially he realized that he was going up against an old boys club. There were a group of his superiors that were all in collusion, and what they did was they organized an investigation to try to trump up reasons for dismissing him. So that's a typical way that whistleblowers are handled. He was eventually dismissed, and he has suffered severe professional consequences. He is now, however, launching a major campaign to rehabilitate his own name. He has been, unjustly treated. And we have even the Government Accountability Project, which has taken up his case. This is a nonprofit organization which seeks redress for whistleblowers within the federal bureaucracy. If you have a whistleblower now within the federal bureaucracy and he is unjustly treated, the Government Accountability Project tries to get redress for that.
What happens next?
Well, what happens now is that, first of all, I want to underscore to your listeners how important this case is as a case study for a government takeover of healthcare. You have two things that basically happen. Number one is you have these huge bureaucracies that have a vested interest in protecting their own, and you see that over and over again in states that have government-run healthcare. This is a small snippet of it. And secondly, you have individuals, even the very well-meaning ones, like Dr. Van Boven, who simply cannot perform their duties because of the huge mismanagement. And then they're persecuted when they try to tell the truth about the situation. So this is it's a warning cry to Americans. Take heed of this. This is what happens when the government has so much money to spend at its discretion. Usually it's bureaucrats who become richer and richer and who then begin to abuse their power, and they silence those who seek to do some real good for the American people. In this case, what we see is that the government cannot get it straight when it comes to taking care of the health of our veterans, our very own veterans. And if we can't do it right for our veterans, do you think we're going to be able to do it right for everyone else in the country? I'm very skeptical.
Any signs that this is going to get any better?
Well, there is a bill now in Congress to try to give whistleblowers much more protection. So this is something that your listeners can try to support. They can go to the Government Accountability Project website to learn more about that. So if we can give those within the federal bureaucracy the power to bring wrongdoers to account and not be the ones that are persecuted themselves, this can be extremely helpful. But more than that, I think the larger issue at hand here is that we must demand that Obamacare be repealed, because what we see here with this $6 million being squandered, it's going to be replicated in larger and larger numbers when the government is going to be a bigger player in the whole health care management.
Where can we read more?
Your listeners can go to Reflections Magazine, which is a publication of the Edmund Burke Institute for American Renewal. That's at edmundburkeinstitute.org, and they can click on to our cover story called Veterans Betrayed, written by yours truly.
Grace Vuoto, thanks again for being on the Savage Nation.
Thank you very much, Michael.
I'm Michael Savage. We'll be right back.